Welcome back, Marine Infrastructure Live. Josh Ahumada again, Business Development Manager for Playcraft and PileMedic. Another thing too, I think I want to remind everybody too, is to visit our PileMedic website. We have the Playcraft website, but PileMedic has a lot of the information that we're going to discuss. I have some cool things to show today, so a lot of this stuff can be found at that website. So some people go to Playcraft, PileMedic.com. You can find all this stuff. So today I was going to show over some of the product. A lot of people might not know what it looks like as far as the footprint of the product on site. I also have a project manager from the construction division that has done a lot of installs on a similar type tile like this, or even a lot of our other products, our marine products such as the seawall, spire panels, and even all the other wet layup systems we have. So he'll join us here in a little bit today. But what I wanted to first start with is what is actually behind me. So behind me, you're going to see our PileMedic laminate. And this is how it will arrive on site. Just to kind of give you guys some perspective, I made a little sheet here that's going to help you out. That's going to describe what this is. But when we do our pile repair, you're going to get a laminate like this, and when you wrap around a pile, you have to cut a piece off, and you're going to wrap it around, secure it in place with epoxy, and those are things that we can show you. But by us doing it in this fashion, we're able to roll it up on a roll and send a lot on site. Imagine this, just by wherever you're installing on the back of a flatbed truck. Roll this off. You can cut it to size. So I wanted to show to give you perspective. So each one of these rolls right here is about 1,600 square feet, 400 linear feet. So I'll give you an idea. So like if we're going to repair a pile, like let's just say this is a 12-inch pile, we're going to do a 16-inch jacket. And I'll get into that too on how we get there. But the jacket itself, one of these rolls at that size, we're going to get about 158 linear feet of repair. So you got to imagine having maybe a conventional shell. Like I have something like this today to show that if you have something rigid like this, you obviously can't do what we can with wrapping that up, but you can do the same thing with the end result. So basically, when you have a roll like this, you get that distance that you see in that shell right there. And then, obviously multiply that, a 30-inch, let's say we're going to do a 30-inch pile, and I have a 34-inch jacket that I'm assembling. Well, a whole pallet like this will do about 312 linear feet of repair. So you got to imagine that if you're going to have a 30-inch shell on a flatbed truck, delivering that to site, I'm assuming that you're going to have several designated trucks going out there, but I would say this would probably be less than 5% of the footprint that you would see when you're doing like the conventional shell that I just showed you. So this is something that we wanted to give a perspective, and for people who are maybe listening, we have 4 rolls right here on a pallet, I would say about 4.5 feet high, but it's on a regular 4x4 pallet. So it's basically regular shipping when you look at the shipping to the site, logistically dealing with it on the site. So that is something that we can give you guys more information about, but I wanted to put that into perspective about our product, because it is one of the benefits of it. So the way that we get where we're going is a lot of assembly pieces that we have. So in order for us to do that, and I'm not sure in the video you can see it down here, but we have some stations on here. People who have been in the marine industry might have heard standoff. Basically the same thing, but we have designed ours. They hold some GFRP bars. We have some different distances. So if an engineer wants to add more grout. Well, you know, there's reasons to get that volume up. So we have the options to do that. We have the larger spacers to get there. So that is one of the way. That is the way that we stand off our product to create our annular space. So just to give you an idea, it comes in on this banding, and this banding right here is 300 feet long when we send it in the package. You're basically making a zip tie with these little heads that you put on here. So basically you have the spacers that you can see. Now the spacers have some features that we've designed over time. You know, obviously there's several, but even like a little lip right here. So when the jacket goes down, if you're doing an assault from above, it can slide right over it. So there's some things that we have thought of that maybe you guys might not realize when it gets out onto site, but it's been a work in progress to have a really nice design to how we do our installs. And also, obviously, a lot of these projects are controlled to the engineer of record. So the annular stage might change depending on how much rebar maybe they're adding, the size of the rebar. So having this system that we provide gives you that versatility that, well, if I have a roller that's in my warehouse right here, and I just get these different spacers, the banding 300 feet long, well, I could just store a pair of tile on the side if somebody asks me to. So it's pretty simple. And a diver going underwater, just so you know, I mean, they do hold on to it, or sometimes they'll assemble it from above. So they'll assemble it from above and keep it loose and send it down to the diver. But for him, obviously, easiest to install on land. You know, we'll kind of snug that up and we'll space it. And obviously, depending on diameter, depending on the diameter, how many spaces you might add on here. So now we have our fixed pile for the size we need for the annulus. So right now, what we're dealing with is 1.5 inches. So by the time I were to put on a jacket here, whether this is 10-inch, 12-inch, 14-inch, I'm gonna have that 1.5 inch annulus, and I don't have to have all 16-inch shelves that I had showed you before to put over a 10-inch pile. That might swing your grout quantities, or it might make an engineer feel more comfortable that they know that the annulus is controlled. So that is definitely a benefit for our system. So that was definitely one thing I wanted to show. And like I said, the spacer like this, I believe this one's 3. So we call this the basic 3-point. That is what we utilize. So this would be a perfect time for me to introduce our project manager of construction, Dan Kennedy. Hey, how's it going? So what we're going to do first, actually, sorry, is we're going to go and install this laminate. And we're going to do it without epoxy. So you do need epoxy on the jacket when we do this. You'll lay out the laminate. You can barely see the side of a camera, but you lay out the laminate. You do about 60% of it with an epoxy spread, maybe about between 25, 30 mils is good. But then what you do, and you'll see it, we can teach tricks later. We have a reference guide that shows it. But you'll see how we install it. Some videos will even show that. And then we'll leave it in place and I'll ask Dan a few questions. So I'm gonna get the gloves on and get this. Out. As you can see, the product, how we're handling the weight of it. So pulling it out on the fixture. That one on. Right. So obviously, if we had the epoxy on it, it would set in place. We like to take care of the seam to make sure that that can't come off, peel off. But then it'd be grouting, whether you trim it, you board it. That's another thing that we could cover later. But as you can see, the product has if you had a camera right here, you would see the perfect 1.5 all the way around. So gives you a perspective of how our product works. Having a roll on your truck, I've had 2 projects recently where it goes on the back of their truck, county bridge to county bridge, maybe 4 piles, maybe 8 piles, different sizes, but they could just throw it off the truck and wrap it, and then they inject that one, so they don't use spacers. So, all right, so wanted to get into a few things because Dan has been with us for almost 10 years, and he actually was part of at the very beginning of a large project, a pile project, 500 plus piles, same kind of design. And I just wanted to ask a few questions to give you guys maybe an view of the contractor side. So thanks for joining in here. So one of the first things that maybe people wonder is how, when you get this product on site, how, like, the learning curve, like how was it to grab this and for the first time jump in the water and deal with it?
Learning curve to me, in my opinion, was quick. It was really, really quick. Even I could take the product and teach our guys and divers real quick. I want to say one good day.
One good day, and then you got guys moving at a kind of a good rate.
Second day, third day, obviously.
It'll progress.
And they learn the process and the materials and how to handle it real quick.
You're mentioning divers. Obviously, you're having divers on site on some of these projects, so they've picked up on it well. Or you've done
because I'd never met these divers before, so they're new to me, and they never even seen this product. So a lot of them haven't heard of it either. Yeah. So you take out this product and show them, and give them a quick course on it, and they pick up. It just seems like almost instantly, in my opinion. Like,
what are some of their main tasks? Like some of them, I know they can do a lot of different things.
Well, the commercial divers, for our scope of work, they'll clean a pile, they'll install spacers, as we showed it here. Then they'll also install rebar, if it calls for rebar. Then
definitely, and it's underwater, obviously, so you guys can't access above.
Yeah, so anything that we can't do above waterline, divers would do.
And then sometimes probably porting, right?
And the porting to add the grout hose to the ports, and they'll do that as well, and they'll assist on grouting.
So on this project, what was the average size of the pile that you repaired?
The repair length. So the repair height length would be average of 20 to 30 feet.
And mud line, mud line. Then 1.5 inches. You had rebar on that one?
1.5 inches with rebar.
Okay. Topside install, so you're doing it topside, sending it down.
So on this project, all of the install was topside, and the diver would assist setting it in place below waterline.
Okay, and getting it into the ground.
And getting into the mud line, because this job called for the jackets to be embedded, I want to say a foot underground, or below mud line.
And how deep were these underwater? Because
so underwater repair was average about 20 feet, if not more, due to
some of them were pretty much fully submerged. Some of it you had some.
Yeah, so sometimes the water line was 2 feet under the cap, the bulkhead.
That definitely gives a perspective of the areas that you have to get into. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up on that project was you ran into piles that were put together, cluster piles.
Yeah, we did encounter that.
And you just
so we just wrapped it all together like a one big jacket.
Yes.
Because it's how versatile it is. Cut it 2 lanes. So we wrapped one big jacket with the cluster over the cluster of piles.
You just routed those like you did
I
in
did like
pile.
Marvel, just like a single pile. So no problems, no complications on that one.
You kind of felt like you're just moving on to a larger pile, really.
Yeah, it's just a larger pile. We were able to handle it. Like I said, we had it on site. We cut it.
Last thing, do you remember how many piles maybe that would get wrapped a day?
Give or take, the average maybe 6 to 8.
Wrapped it.
Actual wrap.
And then you would grout it. You would come
Come in
in.
the next day. Correct.
Okay, and then you would just do a shot of grout and right after another. So you might have like 8 of them ready.
Around 8 the next day. Or usually, we had multiple crews, so you could do more.
Well, I'm not sure if there's any questions out there because we do like to designate the last half of it for any open questions. Dan will be here. I'm here. And we also still have Mo on from Italy. So if there's any questions out there. If not, I do have, some other questions that have been asked. One of them is, how we figure out this size of the laminate. And so basically, what you would do is if I have a 10-inch pile and I am putting an 1.5-inch spacer on each side, we would get that size, which would be a 13-inch shell, multiply that by pi times 2, then we would add an 8-inch overlap. And that would be our distance that we cut the laminate that you see behind here. Sounds a little much right now, but you obviously get a hang of it. I'm sure guys got a hang of it, right? And once they start laying that out, I mean, if they know it, they could just cut a bunch of them.
Yeah, so as well, we'll cut a whole bunch, have it ready.
Probably dealt with having to unwind these out on site and
Nothing difficult. It's easy.
kind of roll it out, cut it, and then it's ready to go to the size. And did you deal with different size piles actually on that project?
I wouldn't say they're sizes. I don't remember on the top of my head, but I was.
And they weren't all the exact.
Different repair,
right?
Different, yeah, same thing, just different repair types. If that makes sense.
Josh, I don't know. I hope you guys can hear me well. I'm out in Amalfi, coast of Italy, on a week of bicycle touring. So I'm joining from. Hopefully, the sound comes through well. But anyways, as Josh and Dan were saying, I really want to emphasize this advantage of not having to know the size of the pile in advance, or if something changes on site, your job is not going to get delayed. Because I remember the very first major job that we did with this, where we were repairing about over 500 piles, the engineer of record had developed this design document, and he had assumed that the piles were 12 inches. So we sent a lot of rolls of laminates, and then we realized, almost halfway through the project, that we are using up a lot of laminates, and we realized that when we took measurements, these piles were not 12 inches. They were like close to 14 inches in diameter. But imagine if we had made a shell of that size ahead of time and shipped it to the job site, then they would have been, too small. Or if you have too big and then you have to fill it with the grout and concrete, which really doesn't do you any good. It just takes away from the capacity of the pile. So that's, a major advantage that not only, it allows you, not only is compact in terms of transportation, logistics, and storage on site, but it also avoids any delays because of getting the wrong size of jacket on site.
That's a very good point that we've been dealing with recently is lead times. I've had a few projects where they couldn't source a jacket. They had reached out to us, or it was a timing aspect. So you have to imagine that if we have this stored in our warehouse, and we just have to cut off some of it, or we send you the rolls, that the lead time for us is basically here. Now, massive projects, obviously, we might want to schedule some of that coming in, so we can do that. But as far as dealing with our product, you're not going to be dealing with the lead time of having to call in and say, hey, you know, my project has needs a 16-inch shell, 18-inch shell, or even if it's just one of them. Then there's a lead time of how many can get produced. So the way that we have it, and the way that
No, that's really good you brought up.
that, yeah, the lead time has been, but that's also something we've been dealing with recently. Now, the material market has gotten a little bit better than it was a year ago, but at the same time, lead times are still stretched out a lot for other vendors out there. And we, let's just say, kind of maybe lucked out because we didn't create this system thinking that there would be a material crunch. I mean, Mo created it, and it was a great system for the type of application that we provide. And in hindsight, it's allowing us to store it the way we do, or having someone put it on the back of a flatbed and go from, you know, area to area. Or you got to imagine other people could do these on telephone poles where they're just kind of going down the line and they're fixing them. So
And Josh, no, just like as a reminder that we just last week, we have been getting a call from a contractor in Vancouver, BC, that he has a couple of like 48-inch diameter steel piles that he has to repair. So, you know, we don't need to wait any time to make a 48-inch shell. We just cut, you know, maybe 100 feet or whatever length he needs off of one of these rolls and send it to him, and he can do his 48-inch diameter shells right away. So there's almost, you know, we have a lot of these in our inventory.
Yeah, that'd probably be a long lead time right now. And even that's a very large size. So we're not limited to a, you know, in the 40s of what size we can make. You know, there could be 41, 42, 43. I don't know if a lot of other sources that could get it at those different variations in sizes, but with the way the system is, that's what can be done. So, and just remind anyone, you can ask any questions if you do have a chance. I do see a chat box, but yeah. The other thing I did want to maybe touch on is another question that might get asked is the additional jackets. So what we would do is we'd get a laminate again, but we would overlap 4 inches and we would wrap around it, and we can secure those with, you know, tech screws and self-tappers or something like that. But when they build them up above, you know, they're basically sending these down, and then they're wrapping another one in front of them, and they're sending them down. That's what they were doing for Purdue, right? They were basically just producing it, sending it down, and you guys are probably using little tech screws to hold it together, so that way when it went down, you know, you might have one of them done in like a couple hours or something, and next thing you know, you just go away. You got the spacers in there, so this thing's not wobbling in wave action. And then they come back and then ground. So that definitely is something that we can train on, and there's some media that we could show that will show the overlap portion and how that's accomplished. So somebody might
that's
ask,
with an epoxy paste. We use an epoxy paste over that 4-inch also the same.
and we've definitely I don't know what's the longest distance you've done with PileMedic, you know? But we've gone further.
We got further.
We have definitely gone 60, and I know guys went up pretty high one time. I don't know if you did do 80.
I mean, we've done, you know, 60, 70, like that.
But those telephone.
Oh, sorry, I was thinking of underwater repair.
Yeah, no. Yeah, even though, I mean, just in general, I mean, yeah, what was it called? 60, 70 on those cell phone towers. And they measure those diameters to make sure the QA on those is tight, right?
Oh, yeah.
They're very tight. They'll get very upset if it's off, right?
Over if it's under, they'll get upset. So it has to be.
So basically, the spacer system, the way we attach it, the way we install it, on going up 70 feet, was able to keep that consistency. Okay, so
Never had a problem with that.
that was something that also is to keep in mind is, you know, the distances are there, and, you know, we definitely have gone through a lot of QA checks on actually even maintaining the size of the jacket. And we're talking about, I don't even know what the tolerance was, but it was very short.
It was really
I think they were measuring the circumference too, right? Measuring the circumference with a little bit of half inch. It's not even close on to what the diameter actually is. So,
But the other thing, Josh, to mention about that, Josh, one other thing is that if you have like some of these cell phone towers, they have a taper to them. And by maintaining that fixed half-inch annular space, we can maintain the taper also along the height of the.
Yep. We got a request for that recently on a pile though, right? Tapering?
Yeah, there's a project in New Zealand that they want to maintain the taper.
Okay. That was unique. And wasn't that a selling point?
Yeah, because you're not stuck to giving them a cylindrical shell and then say just pump a lot of grout in it and fill the void. This way you can control perfectly, the slope of the original pile.
Yeah, that would definitely be interesting to see. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's any other questions. Obviously, as we get through on these podcast series, this one was to kind of give an eye view into the product. Having Dan on was to help kind of give a perspective from a contractor that's installing the product and that has been, well, doing it years, different variations, sizes, sites, remote areas, maybe in tight spaces. So it gives you that perspective of our versatility. But as we go forward, we have other interviews planned. We have another contractor that we have planned that has some interesting stories on piles with ice on it and chipping it away and doing it in cold areas, remote areas. So we could do that. We'll have engineers on. I know a lot of people are interested in that part. That could be a lot of other ones on design. So I don't know what other ones, Mo, that we have planned, but those, stay tuned for those ones. I'm not sure if anyone has any other questions, but other than that, don't have too much more I want to cover today. This is basically a good view for you to see it, what it would look like if you purchased it. You kind of saw us use it. You saw the spacers. So if you kind of see some of more of our information, maybe the drawings, maybe it makes more sense. So, feel free to reach out. I think already they could reach out to us still and send an email if they have further questions.
Yeah, you can always, send us an email at info@quakegraph. We'll also probably follow up and ask if you guys have any specific topics that you want us to cover or just further questions that maybe come up down the line regarding this topic. We're open to everything. So, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining and, look
And
out
as they say here, arrivederci.
jealous of Formosa. I wish I was doing that, but have a good time. And
Right.
I'll see you guys later.
Bye. Thank you guys. We'll see you next
Bye.
month.